They actually fixed Conduit and Luminary, and Antiquary is looking insane. We just got a huge post talking about all the changes coming out to every spec before the expansion, well, on expansion launch, and they're looking very, very good. A lot of important changes and reworks here. Antiquary, for example, is becoming even more RNG based in terms of the amount of effects they're getting, while also making a lot of the RNG easier to see, which is the perfect way of doing it. Conduit is getting a new F2 and keeping the F3 they had before, and they interact in a very interesting way. And Luminary is just getting more virtues that do interesting things with their weapons, and they also renamed Radiant Shroud into Radiant Forge, which I think is very funny. Every other elite spec is also getting a lot of changes, some great, some, honestly, in my opinion, very bad. So we're gonna go through them to see how they affect it, so you can be excited or not excited about the new expansion. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch me live every morning, and let's get into it. Also, I just recorded this video before, and I forgot to press start recording, so I lost everything. And there you go. So I'm doing this twice. Amalgam. Okay, that's the first one. This one doesn't really have any changes. It's only, hey, it did too much DPS. Now it's nerfed a little bit. And two, they're getting rid of a contagious mutation, which in my opinion is a huge mistake. Contagious mutation was the best part of Amalgam. Strength enhancement effects are shared to nearby allies when activated with a reduced duration. These enhanced effects were super cool, like take less damage, for example. Get yourself thorns, so whenever something hits you, you do damage back. Or literally just get yourself a life steal. Oh, dude, it was so cool. And you could share this to your allies by losing a little bit of damage. It wasn't really done, but it was a very cool thing that made sense with the roleplay of the spec. But what you could also do was get yourself this one and get yourself this one to share alacrity and quickness at the same time to your allies. And some people did this to make a build that gave both of these boons at the same time, which I understand is super overpowered. It wasn't super good though. Nobody used it because it did no damage and it was not worth it, but it was kind of overpowered. They didn't want to deal with it, so they destroyed Contagious Mutation. A new Grandmaster trait, New Genes, is coming up instead. Provides boon to allies when a morph skill is used. And of course, in this case, it's gonna be the boon Alacrity, which is boring because, well, couldn't you just, you know, change the quickness one? So you could only give Alacrity and we still would have the actual cool effect here that works perfectly with the roleplay of Amalgam. I feel like it's such a waste opportunity. I understand why they did it. They say right here, its existence limited the effect we could put on strains as we had to consider them being given to allies. But that's the fun part, right? Just, you know, I understand that you're not going to be able to do insane stuff with this, but maybe the insane part is giving it to allies, and that's the fun part. And I'm very sad about this, right? I really wish they would have gone the other way. And honestly, in my opinion, I really hope that they revert this. I literally do not think this is a good change, and it really ruins my my hype for Amalgam particularly. And that's kind of funny because I don't think I would even use this particular Grandmaster trait, but knowing that it was there, that I could use it at any point if I wanted to, it was just so cool. Situationally, I hate it. I hate it so much. Next, Antiquary. Oh, Antiquary. My magnet. There you go. Antiquary is getting, man, it's getting a lot of stuff. First of all, the RNG that we had before is becoming bigger. All artifacts now additionally give unique temporary passive effects to the Antiquary. For example, Metal Legion Guitar grants an effect that allows the Antiquary to use sneak attacks for a short period of time, even when not in stealth. The implications here are insane. So each of these abilities will give you a different passive effect. In this case, the Metal Legion Guitar, you will make it so whatever weapon you have, it'll instantly turn into stealth mode, and you'll be able to use a special ability from there. This really can make or break some builds, and I really like the fact that you can actually do this. I don't know what the other effects will be, but this also makes it way easier to actually see what things they are and choose which artifacts to use, because, well, you're gonna know, oh shit, the guitar gives me this particular effect that I need or not need. This one will do something else, and so on and so on. So it will have a better road for you to make your build and use it as well. I'm super excited for this. They also made split deck baseline, so now your offensive artifact will always be in the same spot and the defensive one as well. So this one will always be offensive, this one will always be defensive, making it way easier for you to choose which one to use. And I just absolutely love the fact that now we actually have interesting effects with the artifacts that were very boring, honestly. And this is gonna make it, you know, a hard spec to play, but also very, very fun. I just hope that the new artifacts are also like a little bit less clunky to use. They worked on that a little bit, but we'll have to see. Double-edged skills are also having a new icon, so now you can tell the difference between whenever you use the normal ability or you have the double-edged ability to use the cooldown again, which is very nice. And they're also making it so possibly Hoarder will give some sort of boon, most likely quickness or alacrity, which means that Antiquary will become a boon DPSer of some sort. This is a cool effect though. Artifacts run barrier and boons when used, and now to your allies as well. You're going to be giving barrier for whatever boon DPS is here, which is a good amount of utility to your team. So yeah, this will make Antiquary pretty strong in this regard, and we don't even know about the artifacts either. Split deck also will no longer be there as its baseline, and instead it will give you repeat ransacker, which reduces the recharge of squid swipe whenever you use an artifact. I mean, yeah, makes sense, works for the spec. Next, Conduit. And Conduit is a very interesting one because it's really changing a lot compared to what it used to be. For example, Cosmic Wisdom, the F2 is now moved to the F3, which means that we're getting a new F2. But what this F3 will do is that it will give you a buff that will change the way that utilities work. For example, in Form of the Assassin, if you pass your Cosmic Wisdom, you will fire lesser enchanted daggers at enemies close to you whenever you use a legendary assassin skill, or while channeling impossible odds, which means that you press Cosmic Wisdom, you start impossible odd as you usually would do, and you're gonna start blasting daggers around you. You teleport to your ally with to your enemy with phase traversal, boom, you do damage. Reposting shadows, also the same thing, which is a very, very cool idea. And you're also getting yourself affinity, so it incentivizes you using your utility way more. I'm guessing the same is gonna be for Dwarf Stance. I don't know what the effect is gonna be, but most likely you're gonna have your Vengeful Hammers just spinning around, and you'll be getting yourself some sort of effect with Cosmic Wisdom. I don't know what's gonna be, we're gonna have to wait, but very, very cool. Maybe a huge hammer comes from the sky and destroys everything on their path. That'd be awesome. In place of Cosmic Wisdom, Release Potential has been added to the F2 slot. These are a set of skills that are automatically equipped depending on your active legend. So player will have to access two different Release Potential skills based on the legends you bring to combat. Certain aspects of the skills will scale based on the amount of affinity you have built up, encouraging the use of the other legendary skills before this one to obtain the maximum effect. For example, Release Potential Assassin is an attack that sends out 3 increasingly large shockwaves from yourself that damages enemies and immobilizes those that are struck by other waves, with increased damage and greater immobilized duration depending on how much affinity you have accumulated. This is so fun. So essentially, you're just going in, you're building your affinity, you're pressing Cosmic Wisdom before you build your affinity, so you can take advantage of the utility, and then when you get your maximum amount, you press your Release Potential, you release the potential, you probably change stances afterwards, right? This is a very cool type of gameplay, because now, before, it felt like, okay, what's the point in even using the utilities? What are you even doing with this? Yeah, you're getting affinity, but the affinity is kind of boring. But now, there is a point. You're getting value out of using them. Maybe you'll use Phase also just for damage purposes, right? You're playing Revenant in a very different way that usually wouldn't be played with. Like, usually, people don't really press the buttons that much on utility, but now you will. You know, one of the biggest things about Revenant that always has a little bit has been a little bit annoying is you always just go into whatever legend and you press your keep, and then that's it, right? But now you want to use the rest, and that's pretty cool. I almost wanted the upkeeps to give me more affinity so I can use it, but maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe it's okay to have a spec that does something different with Revenant. So we'll have to see, and maybe we still need this to make affinity fun and fun to get up, right? To generate. Maybe we'll still be very low on affinity generation. And I particularly don't like it as much because you can just get yourself Conduit armaments to get affinity through weapons, and this is probably the best one right here compared to Expanding Consciousness whenever you're actually not using, you're not getting that much affinity. But maybe because of the fact that you're incentivized to use your utilities, you will get a lot of affinity now. So, well, we'll have to see. I think this has the potential of being a very interesting spec, particularly on Revenant that doesn't really have gameplay of this. So, unless you're playing Malex, and in Malex you always use your utility skills, but in others, in power you don't. Next is Evoker, and I'm not gonna lie, Evoker is a little bit disappointing to me. Essentially what they're doing here is all the boons that were associated to each familiar through specific traits are now becoming baseline. So, for example, with the Otter, you will heal allies when you grant them regeneration. I'm not sure what this means to the Hare and the Fox, but I'm guessing that also on Earth, on Toad, you will gain protection when you disable an enemy. And the protection duration is increased when you have a Toad. I'm not really sure what this will mean for this particular traits right here, but I guess we'll have to see. They will also make it so the utility bonuses will no longer just be a stun break, but they will also be something else. What that is, we don't know. They literally just say, we improve them. And that's all they say about it, so we have no idea if this is good or bad. And they're also working on the Evoker having the F5 as an auto attack, so you don't have to press F5 all the time, right? That's been a big pinpoint for feedback of people not wanting to having to press F5 all the time, that, you know, hurt their hands or whatever. I found it very weird, I'm not gonna lie guys, because you can just keybind it to a different button and understand that you're pressing the button a lot and whatever. I get it, but also if you take away the big thing, which is pressing the F5, what is it? Just core Ellie? I don't know. I don't really like these changes. I think they're not enough. Like all the issues that Evoker has had, like specialized elements not being interesting enough, I personally think it's kind of fun, but I understand that a lot of people don't like it. I don't really see the point. Like, I don't see what is changing here. Evoker is going to be the same way. They're obviously getting a lot of boons here. That's what the main thing they're doing with this here. They're making everything provide more boons passively in each of these utilities, because that's what he was lacking in terms of power. But in terms of gameplay, what is changing? Not really anything. And I think that's a little bit disappointing, and I'm a little bit worried for what Evoker is really gonna be and what's gonna end up doing. I guess with the specialized elements, because you get a 10-second recharge time reduced whenever you press it, you don't want it to be auto, so it's probably okay. I don't know. I feel like Evoker, it's not really getting any more complex or interesting. It's just the same, and now it's less underpowered, and that's it. And that's not what I want. Galeshot. Essentially for Galeshot, they're saying, hey, the gaining arrows was very, very hard unless you pick one particular trait. So now we're making it so it's easier. Squall skills, for example, will grant arrows on use, which makes it so you will be able to get more arrows without taking that trait, and also you have more of an incentive of using this utility. This is also very good because now you're not forced to play Shrike all the time. Instead, you can pick the other ones too, which are pretty interesting, like Gale Force, I think. Fetch is also being changed, being reworked to thrill the catch. Gaining arrows whenever you pet disables an enemy. This is the one that would give you arrows whenever you swap pets. I don't really care that much about this, honestly. It was kind of fun to have, to have that change of gameplay, but I guess doesn't really matter too much. Not really. It's probably fine. Squall skills will also get usability changes, such as Whirlwind, breaking stuns, Perfect Storm being castable while moving, and Minstrel becoming a dome. It essentially just makes it so more quality of life, right? Easier to use. Quartz Barrel and Pelt on competitive modes will grant 2 Wind Force stacks to make it easier to access Hawkeye on higher pressure situations. And Cyclone Bow will now remember that it's been set to auto attack. And there you go. Overall, pretty good changes for Galeshot. Nothing bad here. Pretty good, everything here. Yeah, I think Galeshot is just one particular problem, and it's fixed. So, yeah, great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. Luminary. Absolutely great changes as well. Remember the core virtues? Well, they're becoming radiant virtues now. There still be instant effects, which I think is absolutely great. But this time, each virtue will also power up the next usage of your respective radiant weapon, with virtues of justice empowering the hammer, virtues of resolve empowering the staff, and virtues of courage empowering the sword and shield. You guys know that I'm a Luminary simp, and I absolutely love this spec, so this is absolutely great, right? You know that you're gonna do a lot of damage, you press your F1 just before going to Shroud, you get your hammer, boom, easy peasy, then you move out, for example. And I don't know, let's say that you realize while you're at it that, oh my god, I need some healing. You press resolve, you press your staff afterwards, boom, you heal your allies, and you get the buff from leaving Shroud with your staff. And the cool thing is, They're also punishing you less for whenever you use multiple of the radiant weapons. They reduced the maximum recharge time to 10 seconds. I think it was 20. So now, yeah, sure, you'll be punished a little bit by using multiple of the weapons, but it's no longer going to be enter shroud, press one button, leave shroud. It's going to be enter shroud, press one button, see if anything happens. Maybe you can give some ages to your allies. Maybe you can give some healing. Maybe you can leap around. And you can do it without feeling like you're losing a lot of damage, while also being able to get the special buff from movement speed, from reducing damage to your allies, to healing more enemies, or to doing more damage. It's exactly the way that I wanted Luminary to go, to double down on this like utility aspect of the spec. I was a little bit afraid, especially when I read this first, that maybe you'll make it so you want to get in there and press all the buttons, which I really would not like. But realistically, these abilities are not like gonna be super full of damage or whatever. The big damage one is the hammer, and the rest are just utility. So I think it's absolutely great. They're also changing the glare burst so it looks different as well on your auto attack. So you can still be like, hey, pressing the hammer, maybe deal a little bit of the auto attack here while you're waiting for something to happen, and then use this. For example, leap somewhere else and then keep at it. I'm not gonna lie, I think Luminary will be my favorite spec for Guardian, and it might actually be my main after this. I'm not gonna lie. Oh yeah, and they changed Radiant Shroud to Radiant Forge. That's a change. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know. I like Radiant Shroud personally, but I mean, hey, some people didn't like it, I guess. Paragon. Paragon is also getting a lot of changes. The horrible trait, Feverish Pulse, that would give you alacrity, now is moving itself to brisk pacing. So brisk pacing will now give alacrity, which means that you can indeed be alacrity while not picking the way that you play the rest of the elite spec on the Grandmaster. They're also making it so Feverish Pulse just disappears. Instead, we're getting a new trait that does more damage depending on the amount of motivation you use on your chant, giving you a new build to try with DPS. Very, very good changes to make Paragon a bit more interesting. And one of the biggest pinpoints that people were complaining about, the adrenaline generation, is also getting changed by making every one of these utilities give you more adrenaline. Brace Yourselves also will give yourself protection, which is a big problem for Warrior most of the time. And it's a pretty cool ability as it gives barrier. I still think some of these utilities are not the best, like just never surrender. Just giving resistance or solution is a little bit on your knees, just doing a little bit of damage and cripple and weakness. It's definitely way more useful now for any type of build here. I just wish they give you more interesting boons, like Aegis, for example. I don't know. Like, you're still gonna need to bring random tactics here for stability. Well, I guess you have chance of freedom for stability, but like, you're also changing in between different chants all the time, so it's not very reactive in this regard. So I don't know. I wish these abilities would give you Aegis and stability. It's 2025, right? Like, Warrior can have these things, right? I don't know. I do like the idea of the DPS build for Paragon though, because now you are essentially building motivation and then casting chant of action, right, to do more damage or chance of recuperation or whatever, and you can switch in between them depending on the situation. Give your allies more, full Stormbreak, some stability, some swiftness, some movement speed, some healing, even as a DPS spec. I think that's actually very fun. I think it's gonna be like the new Herald in some ways, and I know that this is gonna be very good in PvP, I think, on War vs. World, I mean. But in PvE, as a healer, it feels a little bit boring, so I don't know. We'll have to see. DPS, good. Healing, Paragon, I don't know. On PvE, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be a big fan, but good changes nonetheless, definitely in the right direction. Ritualist, and Ritualist, some good changes here, but not quite enough what I wanted to see. They say that it kind of sucks that Ritualist felt like it was just out attacking on Shroud and nothing else, so they're making it so your F5 will now teleport, bring your spirits alongside you, but also it makes it so each spirit will now use a new unique skill. Anguish will do a lot of projectiles, Wanderlust will give a larger projectile that CCs, and Preservation will get a protective barrier that destroys enemy projectiles. They did this because what people used to do was, hey, go into Shroud, 2, 3, 4, get out of Shroud. And that's cool and all, but now what it feels like is just gonna be like, go into Shroud, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then leave Shroud. Which is a little bit okay. Oh, and then what? I guess we keep playing the game normally. This changes whenever you bring Lingering Spirits, because with Lingering Spirits, you have your spirits all the time there. So you can just make them explode whenever you leave Shroud, giving you this like, hey, that rupture, that effect that you get on F2, F3, and F4, you can use it whenever it's actually needed instead of just being stuck in Shroud waiting for it to be used, or leaving Shroud and then something happening and you can't access the utility you have. So I really wish that Lingering Spirits was baseline. They kind of do this because they say that Rupture skills brought powerful effects, but tearing down spirits was slightly opposed to the core fantasy of summoning and maintaining the spirits, so they rebrand them as innervation skills. Innervate Anguish, to give Ritualist the feeling of channeling power through your spirits. The effects are still the same, but using the skills will no longer destroy their respective spirits. Which means that they're still gonna be there, right? You're still not gonna be able to use the F2, F3, F4 unless you're in Shroud or with Lingering Spirits. But they're gonna be there for roleplay, which is fine. I really wish you could just use them outside. I think this is the exact opposite direction of where they should have gone. And I don't know. I really think they reconsider or find another way of making us, you know, get those effects outside of Shroud as well. That was the cool thing about Ritualist, right? You're like, you have Ritualist and you have your spits and they're doing stuff while you're normally just playing your class, and then you can activate them at some other points. Your Shroud abilities in some way, which is cool because it's different than what the other Necro abilities, other Shrouds do. But now it just, I don't know. It's a bit different, but it's kind of boring. Next, Mesmer. This one is getting a lot of cool changes in my opinion. First of all, the F1, the Reverberating Loot, is recovering lively loot, giving you damage, but also doing healing to your allies. On your F1 on Mesmer, that's very interesting. Your harmonious harp is also being updated to function as a channeled skill, having its healing condensed to give more impactful feel while also granting distortion. So you'll be channeling it, being distorted while you're channeling it, and also healing your allies. That's an interesting thing because usually on distortion, well, I guess we'll have to see. Maybe you just press the button, you can instantly stop it and still be distorted. I don't know. We'll have to see how it works, right? But I like the idea of having a channeled skill because I feel like Trobadour has just always felt like a little bit like it's just Virtuoso again. And you just see the little instruments do their thing, but now there's an active role. They're channeling it. You feel like you're playing the harp, right? Which, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want from Trobadour. Tails and the performance bonuses are also being adjusted. Now, they will always give the full effect, but they will give you more notes. This was kind of an issue because Trobadour felt a little bit like, I think particularly in healing, I don't think as much in DPS, but at least in healing, it felt like you were always losing notes and you couldn't keep up all of your buffs. Now, you're going to be incentivized, particularly on Trobadour, to use your utility to keep those notes up, which is great because before, you know, you would use other utility from core Mesmer, which is very, very good utility. So now you have a, you know, like, oh, do I use this very good utility from core, or do I use this other one that is a little bit less good, but you're giving yourself notes to play Trobadour correctly. I think that's a very cool decision to make, and I really like this design. Also, Trobadour will now give alacrity instead, sorry, it'll be quickness instead of alacrity, with a new trait that is changing called Life to the Party, which grants boons to allies affected by your lively loot or crescendo skills. I'm guessing this is going to replace Love Song that would give you alacrity. Yeah, because this would give the harp distortion. Now it's going to be baseline, I'm guessing, because of the channeling that we talked about before. And before, it was all about the harp giving the alacrity. The one that would give you distortion, which was a little bit weird because distortion should be something that is reactive. So now it's changing, so it's actually reactive because you want to just keep playing your F1, your loot, and your crescendo skills to give quickness, right? Very, very good change. Makes the entire spec way more fun to play, way more reactive, way better. The meta traits are also being fully reworked. Symphonic Resonance now grants a unique bonus based on which instruments are playing, such as movement speed with the drum or small pulse healing with the harp. I agree, honestly. This was kind of a boring minor trait, so yeah, sounds good. And Harmonize will give you more notes, even more, guys, whenever a Phantasm skill appears. So, hey, you press a Phantasm skill, you're gonna get another note on top of that. So, a lot of cool changes here. Makes the entire spec way more interesting. I really think so. The only thing that I don't like is the fact that the UI is not being changed in any way. I think we're gonna be forced to play some weak aura, like some add-on to be able to see these notes that are very small at the bottom of the screen, while also keeping all of your beautiful instruments playing at all times with a little, just small bar telling us how long we have on it. So I really hope they change that in some way, or I guess, look, you know, someone will make an add-on for it and I'll tell you about it and you can install it. And hopefully Arenanet doesn't have a problem with that. But they never had a problem with that, so I doubt it's going to be an issue. So, hey, you know, when the UI doesn't work, use the add-ons. And there you go. That's the entire video. That's the entire post. I think it's a very good post. Overall, let's make a little tier list here. So, Conduit got a complete rework. Perfect. Luminary, also same thing. Antiquary, same thing as well. I think these are the big winners. You could argue that Antiquary is a loser if you don't like where the direction this is going, and you could be a bit scared about it, and I completely understand. But for me, I'm very excited for it, so I think them doubling down on the whole RNG thing is the correct way to go, and just make it work later. Just keep on the fun, make it fun. You have something cool here. You are not gonna like Antiquary either way if you just succumb to their demands, unless you literally start over, which is impossible to do. So keep in here with the direction for the people who actually like it. And if you don't, hey, you know, you can't win them all. Paragon, I think they're okay changes. I think, I don't know, I wish it gave a little bit of bonus and gave a little bit more, I don't know, more interesting differences in terms of gameplay with how the chants work. It feels like it's always going to be the same here. Even though it's a little bit reactive and it's a really fun, I don't think there's enough changes in the traits to make Paragon feel different depending on the way that you play it. So I think it's okay. Amalgam, what even happened there? Why would you do this? I'm so sad that they changed in the way they did, and I am just, yeah, no. Horrible changes. Blech. Galeshot, honestly, great changes. They didn't even need that much, and they just were able to do it anyways. Good stuff. Very good. I like it. Ritualist, okay. No, honestly, it's meh. I don't think anything that Ritualist really needed was tackled here. I don't think this change really fixed the problems with this spec, so I'm gonna have to put it on meh tier. Trobadour, great changes, honestly. Yeah, no, they're great changes. I think they're good. I think everything that Trobadour needed is here. I don't think, other than the UI game change, I think it's good. It's good. It's not a complete rework because it really didn't need it, but they're great changes. And for last, Evoker, we kind of have to see. I'm not gonna lie, but I think it's mad as well. Just like Ritualist, it needed more work for them to actually be there at the top and make them good specs. So right now, I think, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed with these changes. I'm not gonna lie. I think both of them really would require more work for them to be fun and interesting. And Ritualist is easier to fix, I will say. Evoker, not so much. And Amalgam, it's honestly a great spec. It's just that this one change I didn't like. But realistically, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Tell me what you guys think. I'm sure you'll have very big opinions here. See you guys around. Go to my Ko-Fi. If you want to support my content, go to my Twitch to watch me live. See you guys. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.